Guys, let's just talk about it immediately. I watched Ordeal by Innocence, the series on Britbox, originally put on by BBC One from 2018. It has 4 episodes, and in my opinion, excellent. Excellent. It went a few different directions. However, I'm not mad at it. I have always said that I appreciate when an adaptation goes maybe in a different direction, maybe introduces a couple of storylines that weren't in the book, however, stays true to the book, the writing, and the essence of, what was going on, and can hold its own. If you're going to change stuff, just write a different script. But here in this instance, I felt like the character of the book, the plot, most of the character arcs were very similar to what happened in the book. So let's just get into it. Here are a couple of things that I noticed right away when I was watching, and also spoiler alert, because I'm going to tell you guys how this differs from the book, and I'm also going to tell you what happens and what the plot resolution was in the series. So, immediately I disliked Gwenda, which is funny because in the book, she wasn't a character that was really relevant to most of the plot. Once they cleared her and Leo of any wrongdoing, their relationship honestly became irrelevant, especially after you find out what actually happened to Rachel. It wasn't really necessary to get a lot of information from Gwenda in the book, but series Gwenda is quite she's quite annoying, and I think that they kind of leaned into the whole evil stepmother caricature. It's also been confirmed in the series that Gwenda and Leo started their relationship prior to Rachel's death, so that's a whole nother ick factor. So anyway, Leo, speaking of, much like Gwenda, in the book, I respected his character, but there wasn't much for me to go off of. He was a character that just happened to be married to someone that was killed 2 years prior. He was a character that just happened to be the father of all these children that are now going through all these situations. At the end of the book, it's like he really didn't have much to do with anything that was going on in that story. So I was expecting much of the same. And it's funny because I was writing notes as I was watching the series. My first note about Leo was, he's about what I expected from the book. I was so wrong, because Leo has a laundry list of things wrong with him in the series, makes for a phenomenal plot. And I will tell you why in just a moment here. Mary is, I think, if Leo is the most changed character from the book to the series, Mary, I think, is the second. Mary is insufferable in the series. I really could not stand her. She was really difficult to be around for those other characters. However, I think they played that well, because in the series, she was much like the other children, not really interested in anything that Rachel had going on while she was alive, and honestly was kind of happy that Rachel was no longer here. In this series, we find that there's a huge difference in how she leaned into that trauma. In the book, I think she kind of wanted to stay away as much as possible. In the series, we see a lot of flashbacks with Rachel, which is one thing I also really enjoyed from the series, is that we got a lot of background information because they were able to show us flashbacks. You see Mary follow Rachel around like a puppy, literally begging her to love her and begging for her approval. And because that offsets Rachel in the series, she's much colder. Whereas in the book, it was said a few times that she kind of just begged the children to love her when they were younger. In the series, she was very cold, didn't want really a hug from anyone, and she was very business-minded with her children, but she still kept true to that character of, my way is how we're going to do things. But an example of her coldness was, it was alluded to in the series, that she actually forced Hester to have an abortion, which was insane. That was probably the defining scene for me for Rachel in the series was that scene, because it wasn't a perfect setup, because she didn't really care for the guy that she was dealing with or whatever, or I think because she really didn't have a hand in molding that relationship. She said, we're going to do it this way. No consulting anyone else. She forced that. So that's an example of Rachel, how cold Rachel is in the series. Calgary is much younger than I expected. And also his motivations are completely different. His character is completely different in the sense that he wasn't away researching something. He was locked up in an insane asylum. And so he comes out, and his first stop, of course, is, to go visit the Argyles and kind of set things straight. But I don't think the insane asylum thing really changed his character as much as the younger did for me. Because in the book, he's kind of propped up as this older gentleman that knows and is aware of who he is and what his stances are in life. The younger one, part of the reason he ended up in the insane asylum was he was questioning his contribution to things and what that impact may be on humanity and all, and it just drove him insane. So that was the only difference really for Calgary, but it worked still within the realm of this story. Jack was much the same. I will say they did an excellent job. That actor did an excellent job of painting the character of unnerving and disturbing very well. I wasn't afraid of Jack in the book. Jack in the book I just thought was kind of a jerk, and that was it. This Jack, there was something very clearly wrong with him. And I give props to the actor for that, because it was a lot of sometimes just his facial expressions that made me think this man is dangerous. And he ended up not being dangerous in the series. He just was completely disturbed. But one significant change is that he died in prison before he was even sentenced in a prison fight, which we come to find out was set up and orchestrated by the culprit of the crime, which was not Jack in the series. Okay, I hit on everything. Kirsten was younger than I imagined, and that matters because I'm about to give you the tea on what actually happened in the series. And also Michael is hot, and I enjoyed his character a lot. And we got to see Michael and Tina's relationship on the screen much more than we because it didn't really happen in the book. They were kind of, I guess, approaching some sort of relationship, but in the series we got to see that, and that was really nice to see that these two had found some solace with each other in this crazy family dynamic. All right, so first of all, in the book there's 2 years between Rachel's murder and Calgary coming back. In the series there's 18 months because Calgary was in that insane asylum. So let me tell you what happened. Again, spoiler alert. Leo was the one who actually killed Rachel because basically Leo was a piece of crap. He was cheating on Rachel. It's alluded to with a lot of different women. And before he had actually killed her, Rachel had threatened to divorce him. And so he was like, well, let's just take care of this right now. He also set up Jack for the murder that he committed. And then, biggest plot twist ever, Leo is actually Jack's real father. Jack's real mother is Kirsten. Kirsten had worked for the family for a long time, for all of, Jack's life. And she was, I think they said 15 when she came to work with them. Do you understand where I'm going with this? So Leo forces himself on Kirsten. Rachel, the only moment of empathy I got from her was when she said to Kirsten, I will keep the baby and I'll raise him like my own. And that there creates a dynamic that Jack's not aware of, but he knows that something's off, right? Not to mention Leo is a predator. Leo is a predator with a body count of 3 because he took out Rachel, he took out Jack basically by proxy, And wait, what's his third body count? He took out Philip. So Philip still dies in this movie. He dies a little bit differently, but Leo still takes him out. So Leo is the ultimate villain, and he for sure gets what he deserves at the end of the series. It's not death though. So that's another spoiler. However, the only thing I didn't like about the twist, I was okay with them changing it, but I felt like they still could have made it so that Kirsten was still the one that committed the murder for the love of Jack. Still for the love of Jack, but now it's a different love. It's a mother-son love. And I felt like that kind of could have completed her character arc as the mother of this child that she's seen grown up. So that was the only thing, but I felt like, I mean, it kind of still stayed true to most of what was going on. The only huge change was Leo. Jack, he's still a jerk, but he's ultimately super innocent in this series. So great series. The kid actors were amazing too. Wow, they have the level of I think care that was given to this Christie piece. And I say care because the actors, the writing, everything came together for this series. It didn't feel rushed. It didn't also, sometimes I think people enjoy movies or series because there's always something coming at you. It's like a 1-2 punch every episode, every scene. This felt very mellow in the sense that I just enjoyed the show. Like, it wasn't intense. There were definitely intense things going on, but I felt like it was subtle enough that it lent itself to Christie's writing, because for most of the book, you're trying to understand what happened and you're not seeing nefarious intentions everywhere until you get to the very end. Like, the last 20 minutes of the last episode is like constantly you're getting knocked around. You're like, what is happening? But I felt like they did such an amazing job. Everyone, the actors, the writing, everyone who was on the crew for this, props for that, because it's not easy to create well, I don't want to say it's not easy to create quality. I don't think quality is as common as it probably should be, and this was a quality piece of entertainment, both because the series itself was great, but also I felt like it still kept the integrity of the book and the writing alive. So 10 out of 10 for me, and it really turned me on to more Britbox. So I'm like, I'm going to keep this subscription for a while and just kind of see what else I can get my hands on. So we shall see. But until next time, I will hit you with another review very soon. Have a good day.